time for another Talking with Topher. This is episode 327. It is July 9th, 2026, everybody. Before I get into anything, let me get the housekeeping out of the way. I just want to say thank you to all of my subscribers for everything that you do. If you're new, remember to subscribe. If you want an opportunity to tell your story, TALKIN with Topher at gmail.com. That's talkinwithtopher at gmail.com. Send an audio, video, or type it out. And then, of course, don't forget about that Linktree link. It's in the description below the video. So go ahead and give that a click. Gives you access to everything TWT. It's just that easy. And don't forget about all the links in the description below the video so that you can do your own research. And now, with all the housekeeping out of the way, let's get into today's episode. What's happening, everybody? How are you all doing? This has been a wild couple weeks. It's been a while since I've recorded. We've had the Elijah episode come out. So that's fantastic, man. I think that episode was one of our best together. It was absolutely an amazing time, and we had such a good conversation. So I hope all of you enjoyed. If not, go and check out that video because, man, we go deep. And I want to go into something today. So I've got to look, I just had somebody tell me that it sounds like I'm talking to my friend in the backyard when I'm on the podcast and that my vocabulary needs to be better. And you know what? I don't disagree with them. I was frustrated because every time I feel like I have changed something about myself or I've worked on things and just been trying to be a better person day in and day out, there's always something else to work on. So that's where the frustration came from. But then I had to realize that I can always link everything back to jiu-jitsu. And when I link it back to jiu-jitsu, it always makes more sense. And no matter how I'm doing in jiu-jitsu, no matter how I'm progressing in jiu-jitsu, no matter what is happening day in and day out to jiu-jitsu, whether or not I want to go, and I still go. Those are the hardest days when you really don't want to go and you go. Also, the most rewarding days you will have. And that has to do with everything in life. So if I still have more things to learn in jiu-jitsu every time I show up to acquire my next stripe, my black belt, whatever's coming up next, then why wouldn't I have to continue working on myself as a constant throughout my entire life? So I had to realize that and realize that he was correct about what he was saying to me and that I do need to have better vocabulary. And I do think I need to sound less like I'm in the backyard talking to my friends. But at the same time, that's what this has always been to me, is an outlet where I can just be myself. So that's what I've been. But I do agree that if things are going to progress and get better, then they have to progress and get better. They can't stay the same. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try not to get upset as much. I'm going to try to do better. Always. That's what this has all been about. The last 9 years of my life has been nothing but about getting better. Being a better person and being able to, I don't know, everybody. I am definitely working on it. There's that backyard talk again. I can't get away from it because I don't have the words. And that's what I'm missing. I'm missing the words, everybody. And that is probably the next thing I should be working on is my vocabulary, my wording, and how I come across about everything. So we are going to get started on a hot topic, everybody. And what is that hot topic? AI data centers. So Here's my opening clip.
AI data centers soon to consume more energy than everything else on Earth. But you can't have a car or air conditioning. A cow can't fart, but you can have these giant data centers with whatever coal plants they want, gas, solar, sucking up 5 million gallons a day on average, pumping it through toxic silicon pipes and right back into the earth. And they sound like a giant satanic beehive 6 miles away. It's like, with all these super chips so the computers can track and trace and make you obsolete and take control of your life. And we're just told, make way for the machines, lay down to it. It's the way it is. But I'm one of the first to say years ago, oh, it's going to need all this power, but we can't have any power. The machines they're already, pull it up, AI data centers soon to consume more energy than everything else on Earth. AI data centers will consume more power than all the cars, all the tractors, all your devices, everything we do, the electricity for light bulbs, everything. How much does it take to power AI? 100x more. So it gets 100 times the power while you get less. And we told everybody, when these data centers go in, it's going to jack up power prices so much more, they're going to pass on the cost to you. Already, the people near data centers are seeing double the power bills. A giant screw job. They're already telling the panhandle, oh, sorry, in Texas, you can't grow cotton or soybeans anymore. We're going to take all the water out of the aquifer for the AI. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is for a new life form. This is for a robot takeover. The 5Gs that have all the drones and robots and everything's deliverable. It's all about getting you out of your cars, making you obsolete. This is absolutely hellish what is being done. And then and it just goes on for mile after mile after mile after mile of what they're building. So if you have any logic out there, remember, you can't have a car. You can't have an air conditioner. You can't have a dog or cat because they have too big a carbon footprint. They're already trying to put taxes on them in Europe. You can't have a barbecue pit because it puts off carbon. You can't have a space heater. It's evil. But the machines get whatever they want. Their own nuclear reactors, you name it. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. And now they're admitting, oh, sorry, nanonuclear soars on strategic MOU with Supermicro for powering AI data centers. And they tell us it's making us obsolete and it's dumbing us down and causing brain damage and wrecking society and killing all the human jobs.
That's where we're at, everybody. That's where we're at. This is what's happening right now. These data centers, there's so much more. There's so much more. And I think that we need to stop these things. We need to stop them immediately, everybody. We need to vote against these if you get the opportunity to. We need to call our congressman, congresswoman, whoever's sitting in the chair, and we need to stop these things from being built in our states. These are no good for us. He's absolutely right. The amount of water that these things need, the amount of energy that they're sucking up while they're making hundreds of millions of dollars hand over fist for what? I don't know, employing X amount of people for a very short amount of time until these things are built, then people are basically unnecessary. And then they are turning around and depending on the people to pay for this. We're supposed to pay for what? Loss of water, a natural resource that we all need to survive. I'm not saying that a couple weeks ago that you should invest in water, but it doesn't seem like a bad idea because I feel like we're going to be paying a lot of money for water soon, which also feels very scary to say because it's an essential to life. So it shouldn't have a high price on it because people will die without it. But electricity, that's getting passed off on us. So you're depending on the people that you're eliminating to help pay for something that the people don't want. Isn't that nice? Isn't that fun? And now on top of that, everybody, it is a national security that these things get built. National security has to be built. They are labeled as of June 2nd, military. Why would they be doing that? Why is this something that has to be done. It's a security issue if they don't get. Well, that sounds like something nefarious. I think something is afoot here. What are these data centers? Are these data centers the new insane asylums for the Great Reset? Are they a mass security surveillance system for everybody? That I lean on 100%. Because why would it be labeled military, national security, if it wasn't for surveilling, right? So, what are these data centers? Why do they have to be built? Why are they being labeled military and nationally required for security purposes? What else is going on here? And again, real quick, why are you depending on the people that you're eliminating with these things to pay when you guys are making all the money, trillions of dollars pouring in right now, and you can't pay for the water consumption or a better way to utilize the water that you're running through these data centers so that you can have a self-sustained watering system? You have to consume and spit out. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like the most wasteful resource we have going on right now. And they are saying that they want these things powered by nuclear. So every data center is going to have its own nuclear reactor. Does this sound like something that is absolutely necessary? So they're going to put a nuclear reactor, which is going to consume even more water. This is wild to me, everybody. It's wild to me that they want to completely and absolutely suck up a natural resource that's essential to life. But again, they are trying to eliminate us, right? They're trying to eliminate. And don't tell me they're not. Don't tell me they're not, because it really, really doesn't seem like they're not trying to eliminate us today more than ever. With all of this technology, these people are 1,000% in on this being better than us. And that in itself is just a scary thing to hear these people talk about. So, I don't know, man. I think we're in some big, big danger. And it also leads me to the national security. And I'm going to touch on this real quick because I am going to save this for when Miguela and Elijah come back on the podcast. But why would Leonardo, right? It's a U.S. operation traced back to the joint venture of Remington Arms in 2004. It is singularly traced and explicitly defined to track vehicles, license plates, all this stuff. So now Leonardo is linking up with Flock. And the data centers are now national security. They have to go in. Military. This is for our defense. No, it's really not. And we will dive into that side of things when Elijah and Miguela come back on the podcast. But you can't tell me all of these things together collectively don't show the true picture of what they're doing. They're putting it in front of our faces, and this is the time for us to say no. No, everybody, no to this. But it's been written in. It was hidden on page 14. I don't remember the docket number, but June 2nd, look into it. data centers, military, it should bring you to the page that I'm talking about if you search for it. It is there. Let's move into more COVID lies and how nicotine has been, well, almost reversing COVID, which also makes me extremely happy because I use nicotine every single day, and I know it's a highly addictive product, but at the same time, it has so many benefits, but I still believe that the intake of the nicotine is the problem, and I've given up and I'm back on pouches, and I will have to say that, like, anger's been amazingly manageable, um, and dealing with certain situations, and the hope that nicotine helped with reversing the shot is always in the back of my mind.
Anyway, I just found out that Mel Gibson called his friends and wanted me to know that he just finished reading my book 3 weeks ago. And he's filming Passion of the Christ 2 right now in Italy. And he's been wearing a nicotine patch for 3 weeks since completing my book. And all of his long COVID symptoms he's had for 3 years completely have disappeared. And he's never felt this good. Best friends in Malibu to call me who know me and wanted them to tell me, thank you for writing the book and thank you for helping me cure myself.
I think everybody should read this book. It's called Moving Beyond COVID-19 Lies, Restoring Health and Hope for Humanity by Dr. Brian Ardis. Absolutely incredible doctor, and has been doing nothing but talking about how nicotine is completely reversing and or just destroying the spike protein and reversing long-term COVID symptoms. Now, I have to be honest, I don't know if that has anything to do with the shots or if we're just talking about COVID and getting COVID only. But I'm hoping, and I probably should have done a little bit more research, but I'm hoping that it also helps with the COVID shot and reversing that. But the possibilities of the shot being worse than the actual virus, I mean, we all know is true. So my hope is that I have done some undoing of the damage that they have tried to do to me. Now, on last week's episode, we had Dirty Olof. I really enjoy this guy's videos. I think they're great. They have great messages, and they are and they have a little bit of humor behind them, which is really nice. You know what I mean? It makes for a good listen. But this time, he's telling them to seek for a higher power, and I didn't believe in a higher power until recently, and it is something that is there. And if you put your belief into it, it does actually make certain things in your life a lot easier. And I will still say that you don't have to believe in a God, but you do have to give up something to something bigger than you in order to have the door open, I believe. And when that happens, it makes what you're doing easier. It really does make it easier. And it sounds kooky, it sounds foolish, but at the end of the day, if there's a way for us to deal with addiction, stressful life, all the things going on today, if there's a way to relieve some of that stress, doesn't that sound a little bit more enjoyable than just dealing with it all the time? You have to be able to give it up. So let's listen to Dirty Olof and the search for a higher power.
Hey, Josh, what are you doing? You want to try this? Not really. What is that? No. Olaf, don't be a poodle noodle, Josh. Just try it. Yeah. Oh, good, right? Really hits home. I don't want it to hit home right now. It's 7 in the morning. Oh, why is it so spicy? I added cayenne pepper and lemon to the witch's brew. It's like the witch's brew in God mode. Olaf, that witch's brew is already in God mode. Where do you want to take it? Super God mode. There's no such thing as super God mode. God mode is super God mode. Not if you add cayenne pepper and lemon. No, I mean, the term doesn't make any sense. That's actually a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, I have good ideas too. Although I don't really know what God mode means. Maximum difficulty level, Josh. Yeah, I get that, but why is it called God mode? Isn't God supposed to make your life easier? What? No, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Then why do people follow God? To set an immortal standard for yourself, Josh. An immortal standard. What is that? A higher power, Josh. Something to aspire to that you know you're not going to reach. Because it keeps you erect. Erect. Yeah. When you live your life erect, shoulders back, looking up instead of down. Not down at your phones and at your cocks, but up at the sky and at the stars. When you're striving up, even if other people in your life are doing shit stuff, you're not going to do the same shit stuff because they're doing it. You want to do it better. So you can show, look, how it can be done. Yeah. Okay, but why can't I look up to like a philosopher? You can, Josh. But he's still mortal. And in his private life, he's definitely still taking shits on other people's yards. Taking shits on other people's yards? Who does that? Uncle Peter? Do I want to ask why? We had a neighbor. He had a dog, a big dog. And he'd come over to our yard and shit in our cabbage patch, Josh. Okay. Uncle Peter rooted into himself, asked the higher power, what should I do? And he got an answer. Make a cabbage patch, put it on his neighbor's yard, say cabbage patch, and then he took a shit in it. He shat in the box on his neighbor. Why? I don't know. To make it welcoming for the dog? You're focusing on the wrong part, Josh. No, that's the important part. How does this relate to speaking to a higher power? Do unto others as you would have done for you. If Uncle Peter had a dog and his dog was shitting on the other person's yard, he'd say, here, come on, I make him his own little cabbage patch he can shit in. Problem solved. No, not problem solved. Problem created. He still shat in the box. Yeah, but he created an opportunity, deeply empathetic, for the dog to have somewhere to shit that he liked. And then he just took a shit in it to make it look homey. Olaf, it's not about the dog. It's about the neighbor. No, the neighbor didn't shit in his cabbage patch. The dog did.
So you see, it's not supposed to make your life easier. You're not supposed to be giving it up to a higher power because it's going to work out. It's the belief in something bigger than yourself. And yeah, your questions don't always get answered. You're still going to have hard times. But at the end of the day, if you have a place to put that shit, then it has a place to go. Just like the dog has a place to shit. So you have to remember that, yeah, you're still going to have a big pile of shit. But wouldn't you rather have it in the box instead of in the cabbage patch, making a mess? Right? So none of this is going to make really anything better, because if you don't utilize it, nothing gets better. But if you utilize it and you work it, things do incrementally get better. So it's better over time, but there is no instant gratification for it. And I think that's where a lot of people can't continue. They lose it, or whatever have you. And that's why it's lost, because the instant gratification is not there. They want to be able to, well, everything's wrong, fix it. And then nothing gets fixed because they don't do anything different. And they're like, this doesn't work. I'm just going to go back to what I was doing. And that's the circle. That's the circle. If you, and it's not, you know, I didn't have a higher power in the beginning. I just had to determine to be different, to get out of my own way, to stop destroying my own life. And over time, I've realized that there are a lot of things that I'm trying to deal with on my own that I just can't. I just can't deal with them on my own. And I need to get rid of them and put them in that box. And that's, even if they're not getting solved, the problems aren't getting solved, the questions aren't getting answered, I still have anger, whatever. All those things are true. But I still put it in that box. And I still feel better about the shit in that box. You know? And it's no longer in my Cabbage Patch. So I know it sounds almost, what's the word I'm looking for? It sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. It's not, because what you may be looking for is an actual answer. And the whole point behind this process is to really not get the answers that you're looking for, but the weight that you're carrying off your shoulders. You know what I mean? I think so. So has anybody seen this shit? And this is only in Indiana at the moment, but they're putting 5G in license plates? I don't know, man. Check this out.
The license plate has 5G on it. There's 5G on your license plate now. Wireless tracking.
Look, I don't know if this is an authentic video. I'm not sure. That license plate looked pretty freaking real to me, man. It looked really real. So check your license plates when you're getting a new one. With the AI data centers, with Leonardo, with Flock, and now this, I believe there is more, everybody. I'm sorry. I mean, convince me differently. But why? Why would we be putting 5G in the license plates? Does this make it so that I don't have to have the Easy Pass bolted or stuck to my windshield or bolted to my license plate anymore? Because that's a convenience, I mean, I didn't really need. Right? And that's how they try to label these things, right? This is a convenience for you. This is going to make it easier. This is what they've been telling us since technology came out. And everybody tells me, yeah, technology has made everything easier. Has it? Has it made it easier? Or was using my own brain to remember half of the shit that I forget now because of these phones was easier for me? Because I spent a lot of time going back to the phone trying to remember stuff. And I used to just use my memory for it. So, has it made my life better? Has it made my life easier? Or has it made me more dependent on something that we actually don't need in our lives because we had a memory? Do you remember remembering fucking everybody's phone number? Sorry about the backyard talk again. But I remember that. I remember remembering people's addresses. Remembering street names. I mean, damn, man. So, I don't know. Has it made our lives easier, or has it just made us retarded and sending us backwards without us even realizing it. I think it sent us backwards, everybody. I think the phones have made us all retarded. I do. Let's see here. Oh my God, have you seen this? Look, it is so much fun to go back into history and look at toys, amusement parks, water parks, all kinds of rides that we take for granted today that have minimal amount of accidents because we've taken so many safety measures, right? But do you remember the toys that we used to play with, right? I'm 46 right now, and the toys that I had were made of metal. So, like, I had Voltron. Does everybody remember Voltron? And it was all the cats, kind of like what Power Rangers is today. And they would combine and make a big machine out of these robots. But when we had the toy, this thing weighed like, God, I want to say, well, I was a kid, so it felt like over 30 pounds. It was probably like 10. And it was all metal parts and they like clicked together. Like, we had toys that lasted forever. And I really regret destroying all my Hot Wheels. I really do. I was a very destructive child. But the toys, and I think I showed some toys and some lab stuff that they had, and you could actually play with like actual like uranium and stuff. And back in the 1960s, I mean, these toys, dude, are wild. Wild. Check this out.
Pool noodles with 16 warning labels. But in the 1960s, toy companies looked at a third grader and said, you know what Timmy needs? A surface-to-air missile. Welcome to the golden age of childhood endangerment. Let's start with the crown jewel, the Johnny 7 OMA, the one-man army, because apparently the suburbs were an active theater of combat. This 3-foot piece of plastic wasn't just a rifle. It featured a grenade launcher, an anti-tank rocket, and an armor-piercing shell. You didn't just play tag in 1964. You established fire superiority over the neighbor's treehouse. Timmy wasn't going to time out. Timmy was calling in an airstrike. But maybe heavy infantry wasn't your vibe. Enter the die-cast cap guns. Made of heavy zinc alloy, so they felt exactly like a real .45 caliber revolver.
Yes, they did.
Fired rolls of paper caps that smelled exclusively of sulfur and burning hair. Ah, yes, the sweet, nostalgic scent of a 1960s summer. Third-degree thumb burns, mild gunpowder inhalation, and a ringing in your ears that still hasn't gone away. And as TV shifted from cowboys to spies, we got the man from UNCLE gun.
No way.
This masterpiece of modular play taught children a highly valuable life skill. How to secretly assemble a concealed sniper rifle in the middle of a playground. No neon orange tips, no safety mechanisms, just raw, unfiltered espionage. So next time you tell a boomer they had it easy, just remember, they survived a childhood where the toys were one upgrade away from violating the Geneva Conventions. Drop a comment if...
Dude, that is absolutely hilarious, man. What? I mean, think about the times, right? What a different world it was, dude. Those ads where the fucking army guys throwing the gun out of the TV and the kids catching it in the living room. I mean, just a different time, right, everybody? And today, that's so looked at as a negative thing, but that's, I mean, think about it. Like, that's how you hyped up the public to sign up for the military and get involved. And I mean, is that not telling a vision, and programming them to join the military? This is great. This is good for America. And they used all kinds of tactics like this, and they're still using them today. They're just using different wording, different pictures, different whatever. But it's all the same, man. And at the end of the day, these toys really shaped our parents. And I mean, guns have been a thing in this country since the country got started. And it's just interesting to me that, I remember, because like even my toys back in the day, we had the cap guns. So they went to the black metal, and you put the red, had like 8 shots in it. And they were caps so that you didn't have to touch the sulfur and stuff like that. So they, eventually start making it easier and better for you to handle, less poisonous. But even those toys don't exist as much as they once did. I mean, we would go to Toys R Us, and they would have an aisle full of cop, military, fire, and it was all the things that they used for their job. Just one aisle just loaded up with this shit. And there was guns and caps and bombs. Like, it was a giant thing. So, and you don't see that today. You just don't see that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I will have to say, I mean, this is just a small tidbit of like the toys that they had in the 60s. They had some wild stuff over the last 100 years. So if you're ever intrigued about like the history of toys, man, it is wild little rabbit hole to go down, because they used to make some very dangerous stuff for kids to play with. And I don't know, I think that's better than the soft padded world that they're growing up in today, especially with the technology being linked to them since birth. You know what I mean? I just don't think the technology is good. I think giving them one of these guns is probably better for them. Nobody is showing us the true conflict of what's going on today. And I believe that if you use like upscrolled instead of TikTok, get rid of TikTok, you'll see some things that are not being played on like BBC or CNN. And I want some of that footage to get out there, man. I want people to see what is actually going on, because I believe that we are absolutely lied to. And I feel like right now we may have taken a turn. For a fact that J.D. Vance wouldn't have been able to say what he said unless he had the green light. Hearing Trump, say that we don't need to be knocking down apartment buildings looking for Hezbollah was quite the gasping little thing to hear. And there was so many from that speech the other night that if you go back and listen to it, it's pretty incredible that the things that were coming out of his mouth were coming out of his mouth, and the room was very gaspy. And when you hear gasps like that, truth is coming out. That's not supposed to be. They are gasping because he's actually releasing information that he should not be divulging. But at the end of the day, it sounds like we may be separating from Israel. And I will have to say that makes me happy as an American citizen. So maybe there is a little bit of hope at the end of this tunnel, or maybe there is a little bit of light at the end of this tunnel. But the side of the conflict you don't see because they literally don't show us, everybody.
This is the film you will not see on the BBC or CNN or any other Western media. The Israeli army enters this town just after Christmas. It's emptied of people. They go into the homes of Palestinians, and they're often clearly staying there, and they just smash them up, and they film themselves smashing them up. They also delight in going through women's underwear drawers, and this is a sort of recurring obsession. You have to see Israeli soldier videos in the context of the broader output of Israeli society.
If you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. I would press it right now. Give me that button and press it right now.
There you go.
And I think most Israelis would.
So I'm going to break the video real quick because that's crazy, dude. That's absolutely crazy. So again, I'm not against Jews, or in general, I'm not against Jews. I'm not. But whatever that man is, he says he's Israeli. I'm assuming he's Zionist. That's what I'm talking about. Anybody who thinks that way, I 100% disagree with them, and I think they need to be stopped. Because anybody who could be handed a button to erase an entire race of people and would want to do that is a sick, sick individual. And really, really does not believe in God, humanity, or life itself. The only thing that person is thinking of is themselves. Well, if we were capable of doing this, the world would be better. That's the type of thinking we need to stop. Anybody who is saying that if we do this, the world will be a better place, they need to be stopped. That's what I believe. I do not stand with anybody who makes that statement. So go and look up who makes those statements, everybody. Because those are the people we need to get out and stop listening to. What else have we been lied to? Well, Tom Hanks is a Rockefeller? I believe it. I believe it, everybody. Want to know why? Because Tom Hanks was the first one with COVID. Tom Hanks has been, well, I don't know, man. I think he's right there with Ellen. You know? He's sitting next to Oprah. He's deep in this game, everybody. This is in his lineage. It's in his family. And I find this to be extremely interesting because there's something to the similarities, and you can't deny DNA. You just can't. Check this out. So if you're looking at the video, if you're watching the video right now, this is Mrs. Rockefeller, and this is Tom Hanks. I'm sorry that I kind of did a producing error here, but I did. So, I mean, just with my blind eye, everybody, and I'm pretty fucking blind, there's a very, very distinctive similarity between the two. Is there not? And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but, or if you're too young or whatever, but men take on more traits from their mother, and women take on more traits from their father, which I always find to be so interesting because Isn't that weird? Isn't it? Why does our DNA do that? Why? I don't know. I really don't know. I've never dug into it, but it is interesting to me. I can't get my chair to stop rolling. This whole floor is slanted downhill. But I just find it to be so interesting. Like, I have more of my mom's traits than my dad's. And my sister has more of my dad's traits than my mom. And it's just wild to me how the DNA and the human anatomy, why is it that males take on more of their mom or more of the female, and in the women take on more of the male? I'm going to throw it out there because I've done a little bit of digging into like the estrogen levels and the testosterone levels of male and female. And I believe that it's because of those specific reasons. Males have so much testosterone that you would have to take on your mom's features because that's where you're going to get your estrogen from, right? You're not going to get your estrogen from your dad. That would be a testosterone overload, right? I think. And the same for women, because women are supposed to have a certain amount of testosterone, but they're supposed to have more estrogen, right? And sometimes, of course, the DNA gets all fucked up and it doesn't work, and women wind up with more testosterone than estrogen, and men wind up with more estrogen than testosterone. I'm sure, of course. There's always going to be a hiccup. There's always going to be something wrong with the data during the transfer, right? But at the end of the day, that's got to be the reason why, is because of the mixture between the testosterone and the estrogen levels for male and female. And I might be wrong. I might be on to something. Who the hell knows? But you can't deny that photograph looked very, very close. And DNA and features are very, very hard to fake. And just with the naked eye on that picture, I mean, could Tom Hanks be the lineage of the Rockefellers, which has come up multiple times now over the years? And I do believe the answer is yes. I believe these people have set themselves up to continue on this path. And I believe all famous people are by design. They're all by design. They've all been put in front of our face to be these things that they are. And all of them have been raised to be where they are. And that is why you see the similarities of all of these famous people and why we feel like they never die. Just all set up, dude. It's all conspiracy, 100%. This here, where I think it all ties together, right? So just check this out for me.
The CIA literally ran mind control experiments called MKUltra. It's not just a theory, it's declassified. There's hidden civilizations beyond Antarctica. We sunk the Titanic in order to create the Federal Reserve. Operation Mockingbird changed journalism forever. The media is not just news, it's narrative. Our presidents are just puppets. We are in the middle of a spiritual war consisting of soul-level warfare and energy manipulation. The Matrix was a documentary, and we're living in the Truman Show. Who said that?
Literally every bit of technology that you use today has a back door in it. Every single end user license agreement for every product that you leverage has a clause where your privacy is being violated. Every bit of technology that comes out of the box is pre-configured for it to be against your privacy standard. You need to understand these things because at the end of the day, all of the technologies and all of the social media companies that are in bed together also collect information and it's giving it to the government so that they can track and monitor and also influence you to make decisions that are probably against your normal pattern of life. Who said that?
So that must be a new thing that people are doing. All right. But you see what I'm saying? It's all narrated to be this way. They have done all the things, they've put them all in place, and they have implemented their programming, their narrative, and their way of messaging. And it is all right there, right in front of our faces, every single day. And all we have to do is open up our eyes, realize that it's happening. There's probably no way to really stop it. I mean, to be real. But what we can do is we can talk about it, we can point it out, and we can realize when we're seeing it. So that way we can say no. We can say no, everybody. And that's what needs to be said today more than ever. We need to say no to everything that they're doing. Realistically, everything that's going on today is a big no for me. It's a big, giant no. And I really do believe that they need to stop just the MK Ultra, man. I'm sure it's not MK Ultra anymore, but they need to stop doing this. And they need to stop bioengineering weaponized bugs. And they need to stop bioengineering viruses. And they did exactly what they wanted during COVID, which was to make mRNA something that the household knows. They made it a household name. And now, if you've noticed, every single vaccination coming out is an mRNA. Well, I'm pretty sure if you're allergic to propylene glycol, which is a main ingredient in the mRNA vaccinations, you are already putting yourself in a very dangerous spot. So if you have an allergic and or bad reaction to propylene glycol, please make sure you do your research before getting your vaccine, because that stuff is in there and people are not realizing that they're having adverse reactions to the propylene glycol that's in these vaccinations. So just wanted to put that out there. I think this stuff is exactly what they wanted. It's what they want. And if we're all just sitting there absorbing it, not realizing that that's what it is, it's going to make it that much easier for them to control us, you know, along with the programming, right? What if your doctor was actually causing you to manifest your illness? And it's a possibility here, everybody. And I don't know if you know about the simple fact of a what is that pill? Like if you were in an experiment, right, for a new drug, they would give a group of people the new drug, and they would give a group of people like a sugar pill. I can't think of the name of what that sugar pill is right now. It's annoying me. So sorry. Placebo. And if they give the group of people a placebo, right? But they told them it was the new drug. What happens is a lot of those people, a percentage, will actually have the effect naturally, instead of taking the medication that they have built to do that job. And that is called a placebo effect. So what if your doctor, by telling you certain information, and it's not that it's unnecessary information, but they put it into words that make it almost sound worse than it actually is, and it actually causes you to go into a state of mind, right? A state of mind that actually could make your disease and or diagnosis worse. Excuse me. I think that this is a very, very good possibility, because if you can tell me that I'm taking a drug, but I'm not, and mentally I can almost rid myself of that disease without being on the medication, but because of positive thinking and thinking positively that this pill is working to get rid of this disease, and then my mind does it for me, well, you can't tell me that you couldn't do the opposite, right? And make me sicker by telling me all the bad information without any good, in a sense. Let's check this out.
Here's one conspiracy theory I truly believe, and I'd love you to argue me as to why I'm incorrect. I am a former hospice nurse with many years turned hypnotist, and I will tell you that when a doctor gives you a diagnosis and you begin to subconsciously accept that diagnosis, you will manifest the exact reality you do not want to create. And I saw that all the time with people who would get diagnosed with cancer, and maybe it'd be at stage 2 or 3, but that simple diagnosis with the doctor presenting to them this horrifying information, they started to spiral. And what they did was manifest more of what they didn't want. And what was even more sad was that these doctors would give prognoses and say, you know, in our best clinical judgment, you have 6 months left to live, and then we'd get the referral to hospice. I shit you not, those patients would die right around the date of that 6-month anniversary. So don't tell me that we are not being hypnotized every single day to manifest the shit we don't want. It is called the nocebo effect. So if you are on this page, just know that you can unwire your mind from the fuckery that you have been programmed to believe and restore your body to profound health. I am living proof of that after having spent the last 6 years desperately chasing healing from multiple autoimmune diseases, all kinds of chronic symptoms and things like that. It was truly turning inward and stopping chasing and unprogramming the fear porn that allowed me to actually heal.
The nocebo effect. And that sounds plausible to me, everybody. This doesn't sound crazy or out on a limb or something that's completely unfathomable. It sounds like something that you could actually utilize. I mean, think about it. You know, I wish I could do this for muscle pain and joint pain. I mean, it doesn't work for that. But if someone is literally giving you a diagnosis and telling you you have 6 months to live, and then they're like, here's hospice, what kind of a mental state are you going to be in? You're like, it's over. And then it is, because you have mentally stopped. You have given up. You have been told it's over. So it is. This has me completely worried, because if you're just filling up hospice with filling up people's minds with you're never going to live and this is the end of the road, and we have stuff like the MAID program where they're like, hey, do you want to skip hospice? Like, we have built this, I don't know if it's a tunnel or we built this road. We built this road for the acceptance of death instead of, you know, trying to rebuild and be and have this road of health. So how is the road of health right next door to the road of death? The first patient has been dosed with ER100, the world's first epigenetic restoration therapy in FDA-cleared human clinical trial, everybody. They are restoring vision. Let's take a listen.
This was a real milestone for the field. For the first time, a therapy specifically designed to reset epigenetic age was authorized for testing in patients. I thought I'd show you how ER100 is being delivered to the patients. I've got a model of the eye here, about the size of a small melon. ER100 is an injection of a gene therapy that's delivered through the front of the eye.
What?
A very quick, painless injection. And the genes move through the eye, through the liquid, and find their way to the nerves at the back in the retina, the part that we use to see. Of course, the retinal nerves form the optic nerve that goes to the brain. That's how we get the electrical signals. In glaucoma, because of a lot of pressure in the eye, those optic nerves have aged rapidly, and they're actually defective. They're not dead, they're just defective and old. So the gene therapy, if it works, what's going to happen is that these nerves will get younger over about 6 weeks and start to function again.
What?
And people that have been treated, if all goes well, will be able to see again. If restoring useful epigenetic information can repair damaged nerve cells in optic nerves, similar strategies could work in other tissues. Over the coming months, doctors will learn how safe and effective the approach may be. But regardless, a path from a laboratory science to patients and clinics has now been established.
Wow, dude. What? That was crazy. So it's going to make your cells younger, giving people back their vision. I mean, what the hell? Blindness could be a thing of the past? That's wild, everybody. That is just absolutely insane. And what else is insane is the restoration of knee cartilage, everybody. I am, not only for my wife's sake, because she does have a degenerative gene that really does a number on the cartilage in the knees, but imagine if this could just regrow cartilage anywhere. But for some reason it's focused, well, they focused on the knee itself because knees are very what do I want to say? They are very commonly broken, worn out. I mean, holding all of our weight. So it's a very common area where a lot of people have cartilage wear down, and then, you know, walking becomes an issue. So there's such a percentage of people, I believe, with bad knees out there that they focused on the knees first. But I mean, if you can do this in the knee, you could do it in the shoulder, you could do it in the hip. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I don't believe this is just knee. I think this is almost anywhere where joints and ligaments live. You know what I mean? So this was wild because I will tell you, man, I'm on the verge of just being like, can you give me a bionic arm at this point? I just need from the shoulder down. I'm sick of feeling electricity and pain and clicking and not being able to use my shoulders as much as I once could. So I want this to be able to be used everywhere.
Scientists may have found a way to regrow knee cartilage that disappeared with age. Their target is a protein called 15-PGDH, which becomes more active as we get older and limits the body's ability to repair damaged tissue. Researchers discovered that blocking this protein allowed older animals to regenerate cartilage that had been lost through aging and wear.
What?
Cartilage has very little ability to heal on its own, making joint damage and osteoarthritis difficult to treat. By removing this natural barrier to regeneration, scientists helped aging joints recover more like young ones, opening an exciting new avenue for regenerative medicine.
God. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible, everybody. It's just absolutely incredible. It blows my mind. And you're going to tell me that this is what? Isolated to the knee? I don't think so. I think once these epigenetic studies make it to humans, and if they have great results, especially with the giving people back their vision, then this, I can imagine, you just, right? They're going to work on the knees first and see if they can get the knees rejuvenated. But the same thing for, I mean, we had all the same mechanisms in the shoulder. We got all the same mechanisms in the elbow. Think about your hands, man. What if this could get rid of carpal tunnel and shit like that without surgery? These are the things that I am very excited for. Now, of course, none of us will be able to afford them right away, and it's going to take time and blah, 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 blah. Insurance probably won't cover it because, you know, it does good for you and, you know, it's not making you sick or killing you, so it means nothing to the medical industry. So we're going to have all kinds of hoops and walls to get over and through before this goes mainstream and becomes affordable for everyday people. But man, oh man, it's exciting to see possibilities of rejuvenating and rewinding knee cartilage wear, ligament damage. It's really, really cool. I think it could be used for so much more. So I just think it's a really, really cool milestone today, because taking a knife to our body is permanent. And you have to remember, they do surgery, they cut nerves and stuff, and those don't go back together. So the one thing I always try to do is try to figure out, to the best of my ability, if I can do something that will allow me not to be cut. That's the last thing I want. It should be the last thing that you want, actually. I believe that I believe more people need to start thinking this way. You want surgery to be the absolute last thing that you go to. Anybody seen this? You seen the movie Aliens, everybody? I think it was Aliens. Do you remember the big machine that the guy gets into to like fight the alien? And this is it. It's right here. Look at this thing.
Reality. Unitree Robotics today unveiled the GD01, the world's first production-ready manned transformable mecha. The machine weighs 500 kilograms with a pilot on board, walks on two legs, punches through brick walls, and shifts into a four-legged mode on command. It is officially classified as a civilian vehicle with a starting price of $574,000. Unitree founder Wang Xingxing personally demonstrated the machine in the launch video, sitting inside the torso-mounted cockpit. The company is already pursuing an IPO on China's STAR market, with full year 2025 revenue up 335% year-on-year.
I mean, what? Oh my God. That is absolutely insane, everybody. That's real. That is real. China has made it. $574,000. It's considered a vehicle. A vehicle. What? Dude, I am watching, well, all the movies come to life. Because why? Because they told me. They told me this was going to happen. They showed me. And there it is. There it is. The actual robot from Aliens is now real, and it is considered a vehicle. So for $574,000, you too can have that machine now. Isn't that wild? So what lies beyond the ice wall, everybody? Antarctica, the mystery. Let's check it out. I absolutely love this shit, man. I think this is so much fun. And I just like to hear more about it because as above, so below.
This map is for the lands beyond the ice wall. It means our land is here, and the ice wall is here, and this is everything beyond the ice wall. So if this map is proven to be accurate, then we are going to a completely different place. The important thing is, while I was zooming in, I discovered some very strange things. Pay attention to the names of the islands that I'm going to tell you about. The first one is Thoth, named after the ancient Egyptian god Amun-Ra. Then, Anubis, and Horus. What's even stranger is that there's an island called Teslanesia, derived from the word Tesla. Even more strange, it has electric written underneath it.
The electrified
Doesn't
island.
this remind you of something?
The mountain
Like
of
the movie
Kong?
King Kong and the island he was on, for example? And here, it's not an English name. It's written in Arabic. The Worldly Islands. Explain this to me. And it gets stranger and stranger. Here you have an island for dragons. And here, an island for mythical monsters. You might say dragons are mythical creatures that don't exist. I would say that old dictionaries define the dragon as a rare animal, not a mythical one. And this, remember, Atlantis. And here, an island named Poseidon, in Greek civilization. And here, Sequoia, the land of giants. By the way, if you search for the name, you'll find images of giant trees.
What?
The important thing is that when I searched in Arabic sources, I read about the Fortunate Isles, islands similar to the ones I forgot. The question here is, if this map is real, could the gods in ancient civilizations have been people from other lands who came to our earth, spread their knowledge, and that's why they were revered?
I mean, that's wild, everybody. Come on. That's so much fun. So, I'm starting to develop a thought here that the portals, okay? Portals, the giant trees that were cut down, they were not portals to different times, different timelines, right? Maybe there is no, maybe there is no layers to this. Maybe I was incorrect. Maybe what that was the way to get to the outside of the wall. What if all of those things, right? What if the portals and the giant trees and the blimps and all the things that used to exist that don't exist anymore, what if those were all a way out of the wall? It was the way we got to communicate with the world, okay? Just follow me. We got to communicate with the world, which made the center of the world, which is us, which I guess would be like a great privilege to be the center of the world. But maybe if the center of the world was the melting pot and everybody from around there used to come in and share the knowledge and share these things. And what happened is they all left the center of the earth, right? And they went back to their places, and then they watched to see what the mingling of all of the outside of the world would look like. And all of this at the end of the day, like, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I felt like a giant was watching me. You know what I mean? Did you ever get that feeling when you were young? Because I do believe it's a little bit more true today than ever. But what if everybody shared everything with the center of the earth? We're the center of the earth. And just the mixture of everything all together. And this is some giant experiment to see if everybody could commingle, and it's proving that they can't. But maybe the trees and the portals led us to the outside of the great ice wall. And that's why we can't get out of it today, because we destroyed all the ways out. And it's not just our government keeping us from leaving because they don't want us to know, but we physically can't leave without the gates, I guess you would call them, to go out of. And we've destroyed all the gates, so we're stuck here. I don't know. Sounds fun, though, huh? What a wild time. How about I found occult messages in children's videos, everybody? I'm not lying to you. This goes on for quite a bit. I'm going to play a couple moments of it. But I think this right here does go into the narrative that these things have all been put in front of us, and these messages are very loud and clear if you're paying attention to them. Check this out, dude. This is so fucking wild to me.
What if I told you that your favorite childhood movies were secretly teaching you occult magic? No, seriously, what if The Never-Ending Story, Labyrinth, and The Dark Crystal weren't just nostalgic fantasy flicks with Muppets, but full-on occult initiation rituals disguised as...
I do have to say, 3 of my favorite movies when I was a kid, especially The Dark Crystal, everybody. What a great film. And it always makes me sad when I see stuff like this and I go, oh shit, what did I watch? You know what I mean? And then it makes me think about what I was thinking when I watched it. And boy, oh boy, I will have to tell you, it's very interesting. But these are 3 of my favorite films when I was a child. It's crazy, dude. What was I programmed into thinking?
As bedtime stories. You might be thinking, come on, those were just harmless kids movies, right? A flying dragon, David Bowie in very tight pants, some weird bird lizard things, right? I used to think that too, until I rewatched them as an adult, and it blew my mind, because buried underneath all the puppets are occult symbols, connections to secret societies, references to Aleister Crowley, who's been called the wickedest man in the world, Thelemic magic, alchemical transmutation, initiations, and enough esoteric philosophy to make your Sunday school teacher pass out. But it goes further than that, because is it possible one of these films has eerie parallels to a real occult ritual performed by a literal rocket scientist, a guy who helped us get to the actual fucking moon, and L. Ron Hubbard? Yeah, you know, the guy who founded Scientology. Why is no one talking about this? Were these films seeding occult symbolism into young minds to brainwash and control us, or was it the exact opposite? Were they actually trying to break you free, to wake you up to a truth the world doesn't want you to remember? Call my name! But what if I told you this film was actually a coded initiation through hermetic magic, spiritual warfare, and literal Crowleyan occultism? And it all starts with a symbol you probably just thought was just a cool necklace. Remember the magical amulet called Orin that Atreyu wears? 2 snakes, one light, one dark, intertwined in an endless loop. Now, as a kid, you probably just thought, oh, cool necklace, but it's way more than that, because that symbol is a double Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is one of the oldest mystical symbols in existence. It represents eternity, cyclical rebirth, and the fusion of opposites. Like a classical fantasy adventure, right? Wrong. Let me be clear, the Dark Crystal doesn't just hint at occult references, it shouts it through a megaphone. I mean, this movie opens with a prophecy and ends with a freaking planetary alignment and ascended light beings. How did we miss how occult this was? Well, probably because we were distracted by cute gelflings and terrifying vulture dudes.
You get the idea. I'm not going to go through them all. I just think that this is absolutely wild that this stuff is put right in front of our faces always. And when we're kids, we're not understanding what we're watching fully. But looking at these 3 movies today, yeah, man, this is super, super occult. It's very odd, and there was a lot of hidden messages in there, and it just blows my mind that it's always right in front of our faces, everybody. It's never not said to us. You know what I mean? They do make it very clear of what they are doing and what they are going to do at all times. Now, we have talked many times about wars, history, what it means, who's writing it, what is the narrative, and are finding out now, and I don't know if you're with me on this or not, but I have been looking into it a lot, and what I'm finding out is that most of the wars that we are looking at today and in our history are faked. What we're fighting for is fake. What we're actually doing is being hidden. And the whole reason behind it all, well, it's never the truth. And what if not only like the shootings on Trump, which we all are starting to feel that they were planned, they were on purpose, they were meant to make him look a specific way, and they were fake. Well, what if the Civil War was fake too? What if, I mean, I played a video showing why Japan gave up to America. And it wasn't because of the nuclear bombs, like they said, even though I don't believe nuclear bombs ever dropped there. Just saying. Still don't believe in those. But that was falsely written. That wasn't true. They gave up because of an invasion, not because of nuclear bombs. So, I don't believe that Trump was shot at. I believe Trump was shot at because he was supposed to look a specific way. So, what would convince me that the Civil War was not faked? Let's check it out, everybody. I mean, come on. Civil War is a big deal. North, South, slavery, big change in our country, biggest.
The Civil War was fake and it had nothing to do with slavery. There were 5 slave states in the North. Delaware didn't recognize the 13th Amendment until 1901. Several of these states kept slaves until the 1900s because you could keep their children as slaves until they were in their 20s, aka slaves for a term, and they were still property. Some called it forced apprenticeship, lasting to the mid-20th century. America is the land of Civil War. There were 500 years of Civil War before colonialism. Colonialism is the expansion and exploitation of those civil wars. The American Revolution was a slave uprising. The pale slaves were uprising against their swarthy leadership. And like other reset wars, they were just destroying the cities. And they didn't actually win the war. These are not George Washington coins, they are King George coins. And it was cheaper for Britain to let the colonies protect themselves. So the slaves gained some status, burned some cities, and started moving south and west. That's why the Seminole Wars precipitated the Civil War. And that's why the Seminoles fought alongside the South. And these natives were so-called black. That's why the Spanish used the Moor to communicate with them. Look at Tuscaloosa. That's why the English used a so-called slave named Abraham that knew the land better than the Cherokee and the English. And right after the Seminole Wars, we get the Carrington event, a reset that breaks down the communication across the country. There have been at least 5 resets and endless reset wars surrounding those resets. There was a major reset in the 1400s that brought us out of the so-called Star Fort era. And there was a major reset in the late 1600s that many refer to as the Mud Flood. That's why parts of Jamaica and Panama, among other places, sank. The reset period leading up to the Civil War also brought about the Great Flood of California, basically turning it into an island again, which happens about every 200 years. The Civil War was about pale slavery and economics. Look. Pale slavery and economics. Look. After wiping out the history in the cities of the North, they began to wipe out the South. This was total war, total destruction of the history, up and down the East Coast, eventually wrapping around in the Anaconda Plan. It was mostly destruction, that's why there's no battle photos, even though cameras like this existed. And the fake photos are endless. They cut his face and pasted it here, just like Lincoln. They could get this photo, but not any in battle. This cannon looks destroyed. These battle shirts look sus. And there's no uniformity to these uniforms. Look, what team is anybody on? And these dudes look sus. Pause, yo. These are straight up clones with a fake background. Who looks like this? The Civil War set the precedent for income tax and drafts. Apparently, no one wanted to fight in it. The Civil War brought us orphan asylums, which were reset programming centers, colored asylums for the stolen aboriginals, soldiers' asylums for those that knew the truth about the war, and asylums for the fake natives to make sure they played their part in the reset. The cities were mostly destroyed, and they were still mostly empty. Ghost cities with beautiful architecture and mud roads. This was supposedly Robert E. Lee's house, which became Arlington Cemetery. And many of these cemeteries are just used to hide what's beneath them. These are not benevolent factions. The 13th Amendment reinvented slavery. This was part of a series of reset wars to turn us all into slaves. Cities melted down in resets. Stone Mountain is a structure that melted. Then most of what survived in the city was destroyed, reset, and repopulated.
It's not. It is about the resets. Those resets have been happening over and over. There was 5 of them that they showed in the video just now. And there's something else that I've been listening to that is telling us that this happens like every 82 years. If you go back 82 years, there's been an event that has happened, and it has happened the last 82 years. And supposedly we are in the 80th or 81st year, separated from the last 82. So this is why things keep coming up, because I feel like they are doing it again. It seems like the collective data that you look at, according to what has been documented, there has been multiple resets, and the people that resist are the ones that wind up in the facilities and are the ones that are taken out of society. And I mean, I don't not believe this narrative, because it is evident that it has happened multiple times. Again, let me reiterate myself by saying the Mayans did not build the temples. Egyptians did not build the pyramids. Those things were founded. They were stumbled upon. Why can't we recreate the buildings from the world fairs? Right? Why are our structures so boring? Why is our construction so boring today? Why is there no elaborate construction today? Why can't we do the things we could? Because we either we didn't do them, which is something I will think about saying, right? Because I just said it, but maybe that might have a little bit to do with it. But I really believe it's the reprogramming, the deprogramming, and the causing us to have this amnesia, this forgetful mind, right? Because don't you feel that way today? Like I said it earlier, the phones make us forget. Well, if they found a different way to make us forget, right? If they found out that they can help us progress in forgetting with the phones, then whatever they were using to help us forget in the past was the most efficient thing that they had. But at the end of the day, man, it seems like they caused us to forget a lot. And they're just causing us to forget more and more. You know what I mean? Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this one. I thought it was really neat, but do you know why churches are tax exempt? Because I find this to be extremely interesting and, well, just kind of solidifies my thought on the church itself.
Churches aren't allowed to talk about certain topics, or else they will lose their tax exemption status. So if you're talking about the firmament, churches aren't allowed to talk about a lot of different things. And that's because they have signed a 501c3. Basically keeps them exempt from having to pay the GOV. And this is probably why we see such a watered down version of the gospel in most churches. Because it's the spirit of truth, right? But if you sign a paper saying I'm not going to speak the truth or else I'm going to lose my tax exempt status, you have taken that spirit of truth and basically blasphemed or rendered it useless. So it's very important for us to go to places which will speak the truth no matter what, no matter who it's going to offend, because where a man speaks the truth no matter what, there my spirit is. But if a man puts his congregation or a person or his mother or his father above me, he is not worthy of me, saith the Lord. And beloved, most of us, we put our mother or our father before the Lord, before the truth. And then what do? We take their traditions and we put them before the Lord as well, and we inherit that iniquity or that curse all the way to the third and the fourth generation. So important to get your heart right because it is an issue of the heart. And I'll be honest with you, the heart in most of these churches is not right because a righteous heart cannot be found in a corporation. And that's why it's the temple not made by man's hands. I created you to be a living representation of me through the temple that I have given you. And that's why it's so important to take care of the temple, to seek first the kingdom, to understand that this kind only leaves by fasting and prayer, Matthew 17:21. So if we're running into issues of life, there's a high possibility that we need to clean out our pipes. Just as Pastor Porkchop has forgotten to clean his home, his temple, his kingdom. Most of us, beloved, we have forgotten to actually clean our kingdom, our temple, ourselves. That's the power of the word. Fasting and prayer, herbs, salt, goat milk, and don't forget the prayer. Because you can do all these health instructions laid out in the Bible, but if you're not trying to get your heart, your mind, your spirit right with the Most High, then it's all vanity. It's also why we ended up making you all the Health Bible. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. Learn everything that you need to know.
Look, I think that is a very powerful message. I believe this to be 100% true. We don't need a temple. We don't need a church. I mean, does it really shock you that they're tax exempt because they're playing in to a narrative and they're telling us a story that is not true? And if they actually were to go and get an old Bible and read from it, they would lose their tax exemption for telling truth. Because as long as you play the game and as long as you stay within these boundaries and follow these rules, we're going to give you everything. But as soon as you try to open up people's minds and help them realize that what we're telling you to tell them is not true, well, you lose everything. And that is the message, man, from me to you for today, is that they will continue to put these messages and tell these stories and put them right in front of your face because they want you to believe that this is all true and they are all right. But it's not. It's lies, it's deception, and it should be a little bit frustrating for all of you because our bodies are the temple. We need to take care of the temple that God is giving us. And if we don't protect our temple, then we will perish. But you don't need a church with a narrative. And you don't need to listen to the narrative anymore. What you need to do is you need to get right with yourself. Find love in your heart for yourself. And just go shit in a box. Because at least then, that shit has a place to go. All right, everybody. And with that all being said, everybody, again, real quick, I just want to say thank you. Remember to subscribe. Email. You want to tell your story. And Linktree. Go. Check everything out. But don't forget about the most important thing. Go get these links. Do your own research. And I do hope that everybody out there finds what you're looking for, finds some peace amongst this craziness we're all living in, and just enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I hope you have a safe and fun weekend. And as always, I will talk to you next week.